It's North London Derby Day, and if you're on your way down to N5 tonight, bring the noise. If you're watching from afar, get behind the boys. Liverpool have left the door open. Let's sneak in and make them, at the very least, work for this Premier League title everybody else seems to think they've won in January. Let's get into it on this episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. But first, a quick message from our partners. This video is brought to you by Stocks FC. Stocks FC is the football stock market where you can buy stocks in your favorite players and earn cash rewards based on their real-life performances. To get you started, they're giving away 5 free stocks to every user that signs up this month, offering you the chance to familiarize yourself with the platform. Buy stocks in young players you fancy to prove themselves and watch their stocks rise, or invest in those you see as solid performers who will maintain their value. Earn weekly dividend payments every time your players score goals, make assists and play key passes. Your free loan stocks are eligible for payouts for a month, so why not give it a go? To claim your 5 free loan stocks and begin your journey, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description. I'll be taking you along on my journey throughout our upcoming videos. Join me on the ride, Stocks FC. Hey everybody, happy North London Derby Day and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast with me, your host, Harry Symeou. How are we feeling ahead of the big one tonight? I am buzzing. I've woken up buzzing. I'm really excited. I think what I witnessed last night in that game between Nottingham Forest and Liverpool has given me a little bit more kind of zest for this game. I feel like there's a big opportunity for Arsenal to not just flip the mood in terms of how people are feeling, but to claw back some more of that deficit, some more of that gap that Liverpool had managed to create over us in what's been a really difficult first half of the season for Arsenal. We've got an opportunity to reduce their lead to just 4 points. Now, I know they'll still have a game in hand, but it will be 2 points less than it was in terms of the bigger picture just a few days ago if we can beat Tottenham Hotspur at Emirates Stadium tonight. And I'll tell you what, that game that they've got in hand away at Everton, last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park with David Moyes back behind the wheel, that ain't going to be easy, you know. That ain't going to be easy at all. We're going to get into today's game. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about that Liverpool draw a little bit as well. We'll discuss what type of game we can expect tonight at Emirates Stadium. We'll break down the starting 11. We'll talk predictions. We'll do it all on this episode of the pod, and we'll take some of your thoughts and questions from the live chat. So be sure to get involved. If you're watching us on YouTube, please leave a like on the video. It really helps, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you're listening on audio, you know the drill. Leave us a review. All of that stuff really, really does help. Yesterday, we talked about the news regarding Martin Zubimendi. Sammy Mockbell broke the story that Arsenal are very, very close to agreeing a deal. He said the deal was virtually done to bring the Real Sociedad midfielder to Arsenal in the summer. And that was met with a lot of positivity from large sections of the fan base. But there were also a few that were sitting there saying, well, that doesn't really help us now. And I get that. I understand that point of view. However, Mikel Arteta, I thought yesterday in his press conference, in the embargoed bit especially, which came out a little bit later on, made it very clear that actually Arsenal are trying. Arsenal are working right now and have been working maybe since the start of the window, maybe since before that, to try and reinforce in the attack. Even before the Gabby Jesus injury, this was something that was on the radar. So that makes me feel a lot better. I hope it's not just being said for effect. I hope it's not just being said to try and get people to calm down. I think the Gabby Jesus injury, as I mentioned on yesterday's episode, is probably the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of there being or going from a desire to want to add to a need to go and add. And I think that that might not help us because we're going to miss an important player for a long period of time, but it might be the thing that pushes Arsenal into doing the business that I think we can all agree they need to do if they're going to keep our chances of winning the Premier League title, of going really far in the Champions League, and of maybe turning that Carabao Cup semi-final around alive. So, yeah, let's do what we need to do. It might be on deadline day. It might be right close to the line, etc., etc. And it might not be the number one choice, but it's clear that we need an addition. Let's hope that we get one. Big hello to everybody who's joining us in the live chat. Good to see so many of you with us on this Wednesday morning. I've been up since the crack of dawn today. I've not been feeling too well the last couple of days. It was the first day today that I was able to get up and really feel good and get going and feel strong. And I was just saying to my colleague who I'm covering the game with tonight on the radio that my radio kit is already packed. It's already by the door. It's already waiting for me to pick it up, chuck it in the back of the car, and head down to Emirates Stadium. I am buzzing. I cannot wait for tonight's game. But one thing I just wanted to touch on very, very quickly before we go into the game specifically, talk about team selection and all the rest of it. I was quite outspoken yesterday about the abuse that some of our players have suffered online and some of the reaction to the results that we've seen over the last week or so. And I stick by every single thing that I've said, by the way. I'm not retracting any of that, nor would I. I still believe that what I said was right. I still believe that, you know, people have a responsibility to act in a certain way. And if you act in a terrible way, which we've seen a lot of over the last few days, what you do is you create a breeding ground for those idiots, shall we say, and I've got no shame in saying that. You create a breeding ground where they believe it's then okay to do things like message Kai Havertz's wife, wishing a miscarriage on her. That's the kind of environment that we all have a responsibility to protect against, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up again today is because what I don't want is that to spill over into our build up to today's game. I'm drawing a line under that, at least from my point of view, because all I care about is going and winning this North London derby. All I care about is going out there and making sure that we, we get the job done. Making sure that we close the gap, making sure that we, reduce Liverpool's lead and put Arsenal back on the right track. That's all I care about. That's all I care about right now. And that is more important than anything else, really. Okay, the mood around the club, it needs to be, even if artificially, lifted. It needs to be lifted. And we have a responsibility as fans to do that. We have a responsibility to turn up tonight and bring the noise. We've got to. We've got to, because the team needs us at the minute. The team needs our support. The team needs us behind them. And Mikel Arteta in his press conference has been saying that, you know, we have the power to create the best ever atmosphere at Emirates Stadium. There's none of this crap about them having an extended allocation. The same stuff that was wheeled out as an excuse for the atmosphere against Newcastle and the atmosphere against Manchester United. No. Tonight, we bring the noise. Tonight, we get back to normal. Tonight, we make the Emirates Stadium our own again. And we need to be behind the team and support the team. Every kick, every tackle, every foul, we need to appeal for it. We need to put pressure on the referee. We need to put pressure on the opposition. And we need to give our players that extra bit of energy that they're going to need, because so many of them are running on empty. This season has been incredibly demanding for those who have managed to stay fit, especially. So we need to bring the noise. We do. Let's touch on that Liverpool game last night. First and foremost, I'll say that, you know, if you take what I wanted to happen out of it, if you take the result and the outcome out of it, it was a really enjoyable and entertaining game of football. I sat down to watch it, and I got to be honest, because as I've said to you guys, I wasn't feeling that great over the last couple of days. There was a part of me that worried that because I've just been exhausted and lacking energy, and sort of the way it was like an 8 o'clock kickoff, and I put the TV on and I sort of dimmed the lights, and the kids had gone up to bed and the wife had gone upstairs to have a bath and all the rest of it. There was a part of me that thought, if I make it to halftime without falling asleep, given the way I'm feeling, that would be a miracle. But it was such a good game. It was such a gripping game that it kept me engaged throughout, and I really, really enjoyed it. Obviously, the outcome was a positive one for us. It would have been nice if Nottingham Forest could have held on, but Liverpool had a lot of possession. Liverpool had a lot of opportunities. They were knocking at the door hard, and I think in the end they deserved to get a point. Sells in the Nottingham Forest goal was outstanding. Murillo at centre back really impressed me. I like Milinkovic as well, but Murillo looks like he's got the potential to go on and be a real top player. Reminds me a little bit of Gabriel Magalhaes, like comes into the Premier League, really physical, a little bit chaotic at times. And you can see how sometimes that can cause a defense a problem. But I think overall, when he develops and when he's sort of coached a little bit more and improves that little bit more, I think he can go on to be a really, really top player. So he's one I'd keep my eye on, actually. as sort of he develops for a maybe potential future signing someday. Really, really like him. But I thought what was really, really telling, and the kind of lesson I took away, especially from the first half of that game, was we talk so much about possession. We talk so much about dominance. We talk so much about creativity, etc., and suffocating teams, controlling games, etc. And then Nottingham Forest turn up, get completely outplayed in so many ways. Liverpool have all of the ball, have all of the chances, yet Nottingham Forest with one move, bang, 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 4 passes and the ball's in the back of the net. And that just kind of really sort of drove home to me the point that, yes, possession is good. Yes, dominance is good. Yes, dominance in theory should reduce your chances of losing the game and increase your chances of winning it. But ultimately, you need to be efficient. And Nottingham Forest, through Chris Wood, were exactly that in that first half. I can think of them really creating one real good moment, and they scored. And so, it's a lesson to us that, yes, we can sit there and we can front up and we can defend every sort of game and every result by saying, yeah, but we dominated this and we controlled that and we controlled this and we controlled that. But ultimately, if you don't stick the ball in the back of the net, it doesn't mean very much. And, Liverpool were in a position last night, like we've been in very often this season, where they were probably walking in at halftime thinking, how the hell are we losing that? And probably came away at the end thinking, how the hell didn't we win that? So it can happen. It can happen. And that's kind of what you've got to take away from that, I think, as an Arsenal fan. What type of game can we expect tonight? Tottenham Hotspur making the short trip, of course. Arsenal have won 6 of their last 8 league games against Tottenham. We could win 3 consecutive top flight North London derbies for the first time since a run of 5 from 87 to 89. Spurs have won just 2 of their 32 Premier League away fixtures against Arsenal, and none of the last 13. Their last victory at our place was a 3-2 win back in November 2010. Arsenal would be looking tonight to complete a Premier League double over Tottenham for the 5th time. And Spurs haven't kept a clean sheet in 25 away league games against the Gunners since a 0-0 draw in November 1998 when Espen Baardsen was in goal. We're unbeaten in the past 12 league matches at the Emirates Stadium, and we're the only side yet to lose at home in the top flight this season. So that's a positive record that we want to keep going. And yeah, there's a lot to be positive about. There's a lot to be excited about. But what kind of game are we expecting? Well, you know what you're going to get from an Ange Postecoglou side. Okay, you look at the makeup of their team, and I'm not saying that you're going to see exactly the same team that played against Tamworth at the weekend, which very, very nearly, by the way, embarrassed itself with that really, really poor display that meant that they had to go to extra time and they had to do it the hard way. I'm just trying to find the team that they put out that day. Bear with me a second. Tamworth, Tottenham. Here we go. So if I go back and bring their lineup up here we go. So that day they played Kinski in goal, who's their new goalkeeper. Porro, Dragusin, Gray, and Reguilon were the back 4. Sarr, Bissouma, and Maddison were the midfield. Johnson, Werner, and Moore were the forwards. But you look at their bench. Okay, Son would have probably played. Solanke would have probably played. Kulusevski, maybe Jed Spence as well. But generally, they haven't got a great deal of options at the moment. So we can sit here and we can get the violins out and talk about the players that we've got missing. And we've got a hell of a lot. And we've got a lot of problems in the injury department. But so have Spurs. And Spurs' ones come in that defensive area. And add to the fact that Ange Postecoglou's sides, I would say, are not very good defensively anyway. We should smell blood tonight. We should smell blood. We should go after them. We should get up and at them. I know they're a team that are capable of hurting us on the break, and we have to be wary of that. But I do think over recent years, Arsenal have done a great job of becoming a more transition-resistant side, if that makes sense. So, let's go out there and turn the mood around. This is a great opportunity. I think it's going to be open. I think it's going to be end-to-end. I think it's going to be entertaining. And I expect them to come and play on the front foot. Why? Because that's the Ange Postecoglou way. And he's made it very, very clear that he will not change. He's made it very, very clear that he will not compromise on his principles. Is that a good thing for Spurs? It might be in the long term. Right now, I think it makes them vulnerable. And I think at times it makes them really, really weak. Do I expect us to have periods in tonight's game where we suffer? Yeah, I do, because they've got a lot of good attacking players. So there probably will be points this season where maybe we're going to have to camp in a little bit. And I'm not saying that you want the game to go like that throughout, or that you want the game to be like that for long periods. But I do think this Tottenham Hotspur side, that currently, by the way, finds itself 13th in the division, they're not bad going forward. You know, you look at where they are in the table and it can paint a bit of a false picture. Son, Solanke, Kulusevski, just to name a few, very, very good creative attacking forces. So there probably will be times where we have to batten down the hatches and defend in this game. But we will do that knowing that they are going to leave spaces. And if we can work those transitions right, we can be a really dangerous opposition as well, despite our problems in front of goal at the minute, despite the inefficiency that we've seen from this Arsenal side in the final third. There's something there for us tonight. There really, really is. So anyway, we go into this game with a lot of hope, with a lot of optimism. And if we win, we move on to 43 points, closing the gap on Liverpool at the top to just 4 points. Obviously, they'd have that game in hand, but as we've described, it's not an easy game. It's not an easy game away to an Everton side that will probably be fighting for their lives by the time that's rescheduled under David Moyes, looking to end their kind of Merseyside derby history at Goodison Park on a positive note. Let's talk a little bit about the starting 11 that I would go for tonight. You know, we've got issues. Okay, there's no doubt about that. We've got a lot of players missing, and there's a lot of players that I think are probably running on, if not empty, close to empty. There's no doubt about that in my mind. You know, are we going to have Ricardo Calafiori back tonight? That's a big question because, of course, he missed the game the other day. What does Mikel Arteta do in the midfield? Who plays in the forward line now that Gabby Jesus is out? Does Leandro Trossard just come in? Is it as simple as that? Does Kai Havertz continue in the centre forward position despite all the stick that he's got? I think it would be wrong of the manager now to drop him, actually, because of what that message that sends. Do you just put Leandro Trossard in, as I say? Do you start Raheem Sterling after, I wouldn't say a great performance the other day, but signs of him sort of getting to where we all know he has been in the past? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk through the starting 11 then, because I don't think we've got that many choices to make, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I feel like sometimes we have lots of debates around who should start and why, etc., etc. But I think on this occasion, with so many players out, there isn't that much to kind of get into. But to just fill in the gaps, it's going to be Raya in goal. Timber is okay, according to Mikel Arteta. It was cramp that saw him have to leave the field of play against United the other day. Saliba and Gabriel at centre-back. What do you do at left-back? Well, I don't really know what the situation is with Ricardo Calafiori. Mikel Arteta said he could be back, but we just don't know. So I'm going with Lewis Skelly at left-back. There's no reason why he doesn't deserve to play. I think Calafiori's a better defender because it's obviously his natural position. Lewis Skelly, as we know, brought up as a midfield player, has had to adapt and has done a really, really good job of adapting. But, you know, for me, there are concerns if he's then going to face up to someone like maybe Dejan Kulusevski or someone who's of a really high caliber going forward. So I'd worry a little bit about that. I expect us to try and dominate possession. I expect us to be front-footed. And I guess having Lewis Skelly in the team, who's much more comfortable at going into these types of areas, into the midfield and getting on the ball and controlling things, it works in a game where you expect to be on the front foot. So that might influence Mikel Arteta's decision as well. But I would pick Miles Lewis Skelly at left back because I'm unsure of Calafiori's fitness. And if he is back from injury, how sharp, how fit is he? What would I do in the midfield? This is really, really interesting. Because Thomas Partey came on the other day and looked actually quite lively when he came on. But there's games where I think he looks great and there's games where I think he looks terrible at the moment. And I just don't really know where I'm at with him at this moment in time. I think the fact that Arsenal have made a move to sign Martin Zubimendi gives us a clue. It tells us that, you know, maybe the future for Thomas Partey and the future, of course, for Jorginho as well, which we've heard a lot about recently, you know, is probably elsewhere from the Arsenal. But I think I'd probably bring Thomas Partey into the starting 11 tonight in that number 6 position And then the rest of my midfield would compromise of a fresh Declan Rice because he didn't start the game the other day. I know he had to play later on in the game and had to go through extra time and all the rest of it. But then I think he's still got something in the tank as a result of not playing the full 120. Partey at the base, Odegaard for me will play as the right 8. What am I doing in attack? Well, first of all, let me be clear. I'm absolutely 100% starting Kai Havertz up front. I back Kai Havertz to score the winner tonight. I really do. And when he does, if he does, I'd like to say when, if he does, how stupid are some of those people that went so over the top in the criticism of him going to look? Now, there's a chance that he doesn't. There's a chance that he misses another few chances and that horrible, toxic narrative continues, of course. But if I could handpick one player to score the winning goal tonight, I'd pick Kai Havertz. Partly because I'd be chuffed for the player, but more so because I'd like to see those people who, as I say, went over the top, went overboard, started to scapegoat our top goal scorer by some distance, by the way, because he missed a couple of chances on that occasion. I'd just like to see them look silly, to be honest with you. So Kai Havertz will start through the middle for me. And then is it a case of playing Leandro Trossard on the left-hand side? I got to be honest with you guys. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go with Leandro Trossard. Based on what I saw the other day, and based on the fact that the left is definitely his better side, I'm going to pick Raheem Sterling. Now, that might be somewhat controversial. Some people would disagree with that. Some people will feel that in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger picture, he doesn't deserve this. And Leandro Trossard should be starting ahead of him. But I've not really at any point this season been overly impressed by Leandro Trossard. I just don't think it's worked out for him really this season. He's lost that kind of element of surprise when he sort of ghosts into the penalty area, partly because maybe he's not making those runs and those moves enough, but partly because maybe people have sussed it out a little bit as well. I like the idea of having someone that can dribble, that can take on people. And Raheem Sterling showed a bit of that the other day. Boston makes a great point in the chat where he says Martinelli for 60 minutes and then Trossard as a power sub. Trossard has always felt like a power sub to me. And that's why I'm okay with him not starting. So this is my team. Might be controversial. People will disagree. But I'm going with Raya in goal. I'm going with Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Lewis Skelly across the back. Partey, Odegaard, and Rice in midfield. And then I'm going Martinelli right, Sterling left, and Kai Havertz through the middle. So that is my 11 to face Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League tonight. Let's get some of your thoughts. Let's get some of your opinions and views on that in the live chat. I'd love to hear from you guys. Get them in. And leave us your likes, leave us your reviews, leave us your thoughts, leave us your predictions in the live chat as well. We'll read some of them out as well between now and the end of the show. Cool. Let's get into the chat. Let's see. Jid says Martinelli is too right-footed for the right wing. I disagree with that. I think that Martinelli is a player that thrives when he doesn't really have too many options and when he doesn't get the opportunity to like overthink things and scenarios and situations. I like a player that just acts on instinct sometimes. And I think when he plays on the right, because he's too right-footed, as you say, he just goes on the outside. And then his pace shows. And that relentless nature of Gabriel Martinelli that drives fullbacks insane when he goes at them over and over again, it starts to get a hold and it starts to get a grip and it starts to have an impact on the game. So that's where I'm at. I'm okay with Martinelli playing on the right-hand side. I was unsure whether it would work when it first was sort of floated as an idea, but I've seen enough in the very small sample size to say that I don't have a problem with Martinelli beating his man, getting to the byline and trying to pick someone out. If he doesn't have to overthink, which can sometimes happen when he's got the option of going inside and outside, then I think he's at his best. So I'm fine with him playing on the right wing. Kernel says, just joined, is Timber fit then? Well, I don't know for sure. I don't know for certain, but Mikel Arteta did say that he was cramping in the game the other day, along with Jorginho. And so the assumption is that both of those guys will be available. Mark Jerome says, what about Martinelli and Sterling mixing it up by switching sides throughout the game? I agree with that. And I actually think that that's something that we don't do enough of and haven't done enough of really over sort of the last few seasons, really, just to kind of mix things up and change things up a little bit. I think for a long time, we've sort of, we've had a couple of players on the flanks that are very good at what they do, but when it became a little bit predictable and we had the opportunity to just flip them over, we never really took advantage of that. We never really seemed to want to make it happen. And maybe because Saka's so devastating on the right, you don't want to do that when he's in the team. But with Martinelli, who can I think, comfortably play on both, with Sterling, who I think can quite comfortably play on both sides, I think it's a good option. I do. Nacho Monreal, great screen name, says, Harry, why have we gone away from using Trossard as a false nine this season? It's interesting because Trossard is a great finisher and has been a great finisher throughout his career, which is why when he was first used as a false nine, I thought, okay, that can work. If the chance comes his way, fine. But I think we've got to a point where teams have sort of set up in certain ways against us. And maybe this won't be the case with Spurs because they're a lot more front-footed and proactive in terms of the way they approach games. But I do feel like we end up just seeing our number 9 completely crowded out and with very little space to operate. And as a result of that, what Leandro Trossard is good at doing doesn't really shine through. And so if you don't have either rapid pace, which I don't think Trossard does, to make runs in behind, or the physical presence that Kai Havertz does, for instance, which gets him into the positions and earns him the chances that he's been bemoaned for missing in the first place, I just don't see how it works for Trossard right now. I just don't. I don't. Let's see what else we've got. Fizzy says, do you think that Miles Lewis-Skelly will get opportunities in the midfield next season after the departures of Jorginho and Thomas Partey? I hope so. And there's a very similar question from Jid as well. And it's a really, really good question. Milind also makes a similar point. Look, I think it would be a shame if Miles Lewis-Skelly doesn't get the opportunity to show himself in what I believe to be his most natural and best position. When he first came into the side, just based on a preconception and based on a couple of games that I'd seen at sort of under 21 level, Premier League 2 level, I was a bit unsure as to whether physically he was ready to go into a midfield. And so I thought playing him at left back was a good way of kind of getting him to kind of work his way in. Remember, we used Bukayo Saka as a left back at the beginning as well until he developed and grew up a little bit. And particularly in our side where the left back's allowed to go into midfield, it meant that he could go in there and do his thing, but also not necessarily be solely responsible for that position as well, which protected him a little bit. And with that security of having like Gabriel and Saliba and then maybe Timber or White as the third centre-back coming across, it all looked really, really solid. And he was kind of afforded that freedom as a result. I think he's very strong. Very, 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 very strong. Very powerful, very intelligent, very good at protecting the ball, shielding the ball. And I think it would be a damn shame if he doesn't get a chance to showcase himself in what I believe is his best position. He's doing a good job at the minute at left back, and that's not to take anything away from him. But I'm thinking about the player's ceiling. And the player's ceiling is right up here. If he continues on this trajectory, he can be as good a midfield player as maybe saying a Bukayo Saka's too much, but there's no reason why he can't go on to the level of like an Emile Smith-Rowe, for instance, or whatever. In which case, if he can stay fit, which Emile Smith-Rowe unfortunately never could, then he'd be a great asset to our side and to our squad. So I'm hoping that he does get the opportunity. Maybe preseason is a great time for us to try that. He'd have some experience under his belt for, off the back of what's happened this season. And maybe we could see him move into that role come the summer, particularly with those departures, as you say. Canterbury Guna says, Harry, do you think the mood inside the stadium could get a bit ugly if we don't win tonight? Yeah, I do. And I don't want it to, obviously. But if we were to mess up tonight, a game that naturally brings more emotion than any other because it's the North London derby, off the back of Liverpool handing us another opportunity to close the gap, off the back of those two really disappointing cup results, then I'd understand it a lot more than I understood it the last couple of times. the thing is, people can be downbeat, people can be frustrated, people can be disappointed. And I've got no issue with people criticizing. Like, I wouldn't even have an issue if our fans were to sort of voice their concerns at the team as a collective after the game. Let's say we lost the game tonight and there were a few boos around the stadium. You wouldn't get me coming away from the Emirates Stadium saying, you're all a disgrace, that's out of order, you should never boo your team. No, because if the collective deserved it, if the collective were responsible and everybody felt that the collective had let them down, then as fans, you're entitled to voice your opinions. I've always said that there's nothing wrong with opinions and there's nothing wrong with criticism. Where I draw the line and where I have a problem is personal abuse. Personal abuse is wrong. Whatever way you try and dress it up, whatever way you try and shape it up, it is wrong. It shouldn't happen. And people cross the line after that game. And I don't want to see that happen again. If you want to have a problem with the team, etc., fine, voice that concern. And I do worry that because we're on this kind of tipping point at the minute, that if the result tonight isn't the one we're all after, then people are going to react in that way. And all that negativity and reaction that we experienced the other night, it's only going to get louder, louder, louder. And we go back 5 years to being that toxic basket case club that we were before Mikel Arteta took over. And I don't want us to go back there because we've worked so hard to get away from that. Andrew says, it's already toxic inside the ground with arguments and scuffles. Lose against the scum and it will go to another level. I mean, look, I heard someone, a friend of mine that was at the game the other night talking about like some Arsenal fans getting involved in like a scuffle between themselves after the game the other day. Listen, mate, like, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about this on today's show, but we've somehow ended up back here. Look, if you're punching a fellow Arsenal fan because of a disagreement over where it went wrong, you're an idiot. Like, it's as simple as that. So why are we using these quite clear idiots as the barometer of the mood at our football club? I've come away from the Emirates disappointed, frustrated, angry, devastated many, many times over the years. And not once have I ever had the urge to go and punch a fellow fan. Not once. Even if, in my opinion, they were talking complete and utter nonsense. And believe me, there was a stage right at the beginning when I had my season ticket. I don't think the guy sits there anymore. There was a guy that used to stand, not the seat directly behind me, but maybe 2 to the right or 2 to the left. And he used to spout absolute shit during every game. This was in the first couple of years I had the season ticket. And there were times where I'd turn around and look at him and just think, what on earth are you talking about? Like, you've got no clue. I completely disagreed with pretty much everything he said, but at no point did I have the urge to turn around and smack the guy in the mouth. So if that's the point that you're getting to, then you're an idiot. And if you're an idiot, why should I use that kind of response as the barometer of where our fans are? Like, actually, no, forget that. That's an isolated idiot. You know, it doesn't matter what he thinks or says. I don't care. It's not going to change my opinion. It's not going to change my mind. If we're having intelligent, smart conversations about potential problems, then I'm going to listen. And whether I disagree or not, I'll still listen. I always do. But yeah, there you go. Joshua James, nail on the head. Imagine actually fighting with your own fans. Embarrassing. Absolutely. AJ says, morning, everyone. Oddly enough, I'm not nervous for this game, to be honest. Maybe because I don't have super high expectations. Yeah, maybe there is less expectation around today's game because of the way things have gone over the last week or so. But, you know, this is a massive opportunity for us to, as I keep saying, to fix the mood, to get back on track and to keep the title race alive, which I think is important, because if we're going to go out of the Carabao Cup, which we probably will, if we're being brutally honest, we've gone out of the FA Cup. Champions League is going to be very, very difficult to win. Nobody's denying that. If we're going to keep the season alive, we need to win tonight and make a chase of it at the very least. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you my prediction in just a minute. But before I do that, quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you are brand spanking new, it really, really does help. And if you're listening on audio, please do leave us a review. I'll share with you guys my prediction in just a second. But just a quick reminder that this YouTube video is brought to you by the good people over at Stocks FC. You can buy stocks in your favorite players. And if you wish to participate in the game, you can scan the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen when you can claim your 5 free stocks. They'll be valid for a month and you'll be able to earn dividend payments on those stocks for the first month. Should you wish to invest, you can. But of course, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I want to make that clear. Only play if you can afford to play. I'm finding it a lot of fun. It's not easy, which is what keeps me intrigued and what keeps me sort of really interested in it at the moment. I've talked about my approach to this game, which has been to invest in players who I thought their stocks were low, who I thought were struggling at that point in time, and hoping that there's going to be an upturn that will see the value of my portfolio increase. Kai Havertz was one of those. Gabriel Martinelli is another. I was hoping that his stock would increase in the absence of Bukayo Saka because we need him. Bernardo Silva, I think, can't have a worse second half to the season than he did in the first. Brian Mbeumo was one of my solid investments. Got a couple of loans there in Son and Winks. And Ben White, I'm hoping we'll see his stock rise when he returns to the team as well, because everyone will remember all of a sudden what a great player he is. Stocks FC, we thank them so much for supporting us here on the Chronicles of a Gooner YouTube channel. Check them out. Claim your free loan stocks. Use the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, or if you're listening to us, you can, of course, click the link in the description, whichever one you prefer. Thank you to them for their very, very kind support. Right, prediction time. Let's do it. I had a dream last night that Arsenal won 3-1, that Kai Havertz scored 2. He scored the first one. Tottenham pegged us back to 1-1. We went 2-1 up, and then Kai Havertz wrapped it up. He was played through on goal in the last 5 minutes. He charged forward, went around the goalkeeper, and rolled it into the back of the net to make it Arsenal 3, Tottenham Hotspur 1, and seal all the points. And then he ran away, going like this to the Arsenal fans that have been talking crap about him over the last 48 hours. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay. Chuck some of your predictions in the live chat box. I'm going to sign out now. I'm going to go and try and relax in the lead up to this massive game tonight. And if you are in the London area tonight and you want to listen to the game on the radio, or you want to put our commentary on to sync up with your TV pictures, which I know a lot of people do these days when they prefer the commentary team on the radio, you can tune in to BBC London Sport on digital radio. We've got full commentary of the game tonight. You will not miss a kick. Nick Godwin is on commentary duty. He's the main man. Fantastic commentator, Nick. I'm a massive, massive fan. And he's someone I've learned a hell of a lot from over the last couple of years. Bradley Allen is going to be on there, sort of semi-representing the Spurs side, but he's very honest and good in his analysis. And I'm going to be chipping in as well with the Arsenal perspective on things. So BBC Radio London Sport, we've got the full game tonight on digital radio. Kickoff is, of course, at 8 o'clock. So if you fancy joining us, you can. I will see you very, very soon. Until the next one, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. And hopefully on tomorrow morning's pod, we're talking about a North London derby victory. Come on, you Gunners. Remember, if you're heading down there tonight, guys, bring the noise. Let's fucking go, guys.